Alrighty then, welcome back to another episode of No Bad Sports Talk. Look, it's been a long time. We're back here again. We got a lot of stuff to talk about because we haven't done a show in I don't know, forever it seems like. But look, we want to do like a quick thing, just talk about baseball, right? Look, Tigers are doing fantastic. Let's just touch on that real quick, especially another good game today. Another exceptional game by Scooble.
I'm telling you,
That guy is
he
amazing.
he is having. I mean, he won a Cy Young last year.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, he was Triple Crown, right?
Yeah, he
Didn't
was.
Yeah. So I don't know about Triple Crown, but he is having the same year this year. I think it's a little bit better as last year's numbers to this point.
What I like about this year over last year is just again the walks being. I mean, he's never been a guy to walk a lot of players, but
Right.
this season's just been a whole different level when it comes to throwing strikes and not walking people.
Yeah. He has got a swagger about him when he's up there. Like he just absolute command.
Yeah.
And he's a different person this year, right? I mean, like not that because he had a great year last year. That's why he won the Cy Young, right?
So last year he won 18 games. He's already at 10 games right now, right? So he's 10-2. Last year was 18-4. His ERA last year was 2.39. He's currently at 2.15. And the only reason why he's not leading in the ERA department for the league is because of Max Fried has, less than a 2. But, one bad outing by Fried and, Scooble could be leading in the ERA as well.
Right. Those numbers change so quick in a game.
They can.
Just with one game. It doesn't take multiple games.
But right now, when you're looking at a Scooble, and as far as right now, what he's leading in wins, win-loss percentage. He has one shutout, which is tied for the lead. FIP at 1.98. WHIP at 0.835, which is just disgusting. Walks per 9 at 1.2. Strikeouts per 9, 11.4. And strikeouts to walk ratio at a 9.86, which last year his strikeout to walk ratio was a 6.51. And to go from that to a 9.86. I mean, that's what I think is the biggest difference in Scooble this year is the walk rate just being way, way, way down.
He's throwing strikes, so I think that's the other part of that, right? Or he's throwing pitches that he's making batters swing instead of just sit. Right.
Well, it's I think every year he's just gotten better, and yeah, I think in this scenario he's definitely challenging them. His confidence is at a whole nother level. He's just basically like, I'm going to throw you what I want to throw. I'm not going to throw you something, that's specific, because you're like a righty or a lefty or whatever. Like, I'm going to throw you what I want to throw because that's what I feel comfortable throwing at this time.
Right.
And it's really keeping the hitters off guard, especially with that changeup. It's probably the best changeup in the league right now.
And that's saying a lot because we know who your favorite guy is.
Yeah, well,
he's finally pitching, but
his best pitch isn't this changeup though.
No. Honestly, and I'm going to say this right now: the fact that Ohtani, after the surgery, threw a 102-mile-an-hour fastball. I mean, he threw high 90s, and then on the third one he threw the 100. I'm like, all right, I guess he's still okay.
Oh, one number I forgot to mention too was his ERA plus. Right, so his ERA plus last year was 170, and he led the league at 170.
Mm-hmm.
He's currently at 186, but not leading the league. Right, but that's an incredible. Again, he's just at a whole nother level. It's amazing. Love seeing him pitch. Riley Green. I think Riley Green should be a face of the franchise with Scooble. But right now, my biggest issue I have with Green is his inconsistency. If he somehow is able to fix his inconsistencies, he will be one of the best players in all of baseball, no doubt, 100%.
Going into the game today, I think he was basically one hit from hitting 300, and he went 1 for 5 today. I mean, it's not that he didn't get a hit; he did, right? Actually, it's he had a homer, but but the 1 for 5, he's 286, right? But anymore, that's a good number, and I know we've talked about batting averages and how they've changed, over the years, and how that number has slid, from that Barry Bonds era where we're always talking about 300, right? Got to be 300, and it's not so much the case anymore.
Well, his last 5 games, right, going back to 7-2, he was 2 for 5 that game, right? They played 2 games 7-2. I should be specific. They played 2 games on 7-2. One game he was 2 for 5, and then his next 4 games, not counting today, 0 for 2, 0 for 4, 0 for 3, 0 for 3. Yeah. Right, and then the strikeouts. Again, even the game he went 2 for 5, he had 2 strikeouts. 0 for 2, 1 strikeout. 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts. 0 for 3, 2 strikeouts. 0 for 3, 2 strikeouts. Right? Like, he needs to be a much more consistent hitter as far as being able to put the bat in the ball, decrease his strikeout percentage. And again, he will be one of the best players in all of baseball.
Yeah. You said that at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, you talk about Riley Green a lot because he is a phenomenal player.
And he's one of my favorites on the Tigers right now.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Yeah. And he has a big loop in his swing, which I think is part of it, as far as his ability to, make contact. He's got a big loop in his swing, hits ball in the air a lot. But yeah, I mean, right now he's leading the league in strikeouts at 114.
And he's over 20 home runs, right? I know he's at,
well, with the one today, I believe he's at 22 now, but yes.
22.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And he's at 69 RBIs, again, not counting today.
Yep.
Like, again, big fan. I'm not trying in any way to, but like, his strikeout percentage is up. Even in his rookie season, he only struck out 28% of the time, right? And that's gone down, like from 28, 27, 26. He got, less each year, but this year, 31. And his walk rate last year was 11%, and it dropped down to 7% this year. So I guess that's what I'm talking about is I don't mind him being aggressive. I like an aggressive hitter personally, right? But just if you're going to be aggressive, you have to be able to put a bat on the ball. Like, you don't want to strike out, at where he is at 31%.
Right. So as I'm going down through the roster because I know they played today. They had to go to extra innings.
Oh, that was great, yeah.
Right? And then they scored 6 in the 10th.
Yeah.
Right? So they went into extra innings. It was 1-1 for anybody who didn't see the game. So spoiler alert. But, yeah.
The Tigers were down to the last out in the bottom, or in the ninth, not the bottom of the ninth, but in the ninth. And McKinstry ties it, and then they go into extra innings. And, it was – and Tigers had no offense the entire game, obviously being tied at 1.
Yeah. Baez was the only one that had a hit, I think, going into that last.
That's right. Yes, he was the only one with a hit.
And that's a whole other story. I'm sure. I don't know. I don't think there's enough time to talk about the resurgence of Javi Baez for this year.
Yeah, but this is kind of a this just got put out from the Detroit News today as of 30 minutes ago, roughly. The Tigers' top prospects, McGonigal, Clark, and Briseño, were promoted to Double-A.
Nice.
Today.
Nice.
Yes. Yep.
McGonigal
is look.
Go ahead.
But I
know you did.
I said it at the beginning of the year. I said
I know you did.
At the beginning of the year, I said, watch McGonigal. I think he has the best hit tool in all of, I was going to say college, in all of minor leagues. And he will be the Tigers' new number 1 prospect this year. Because I believed in that guy so much, right? And, dude, he's right now, again, this was from high A, because, he just got promoted today. But in high A, he was hitting 358 with a 450 on base and a 617 slug. That is ridiculous.
Right?
Jeez.
It's funny because we both said it because the high A team is the West Michigan team. So we get a lot. We get a little bit more press because we're here in Michigan. So you get to you hear about that a little bit more. But yeah, like that, McGonigal has been all over the minor. Like when you talk about minor league prospects, his name comes up a lot. Just because of what he's doing, not to take anything away from Max Crosby.
That's a different sport. Who we also want to be for Detroit, but yeah, all right, yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So
Max Clark,
we because he was our number 1 pick, right? And it's not that he's getting press. He's just I think he's been quiet. I've not heard a whole lot about it. Everything's been focused on McGonigal, which is fine because he's been having such a good year. But it's allowed Max Clark to kind of just quietly float under the radar.
So here's what I like about Clark, right? So Clark's batting .285, which is still solid. But the eye this guy has,
Right.
He's batting 70 points lower than McGonigal in terms of average, but his on base percentage is 430, only 20 points lower than the McGonigal, right? Like he's able to walk. He's because he doesn't swing at bad pitches. Clark has a great eye in the box, and his slugging of 427. We knew he wasn't going to have a high slugging percentage because he's not a home run hitter. He's more of a gap hitter. And anyway, well, like he'll provide a lot of offense just getting on base, and when he's on base, he is a threat to steal.
Yeah.
But remember, both Clark and McGonigal came in that same draft. The Tigers went with Clark, as a reminder to those out there that don't know this, right? Tigers went with Clark because it's not like football. Football's draft is something that everybody knows about, that's in the sports. Everything's slotted in terms of money. There is a slot value in terms of money with baseball, but that's negotiable. You can pay more, you can pay less. Max Clark just wanted to be drafted higher, and he says if he was drafted higher, he would take less money than slot. So because Tigers took him, excuse me, over I can't think of the Texas Rangers guy now that they could have taken. I'm having a good year, but
the hitter or the pitcher?
The hitter. But at any rate, they went with Clark instead, right? And because they saved some money there, they were able to draft McGonigal later on in the first round and pay him a higher signing bonus. So they were able to get both of them. So anyway.
You talked about Clark's eye in the box even at the beginning of the year because watching the minor league prospects like you do, I think you saw that early with him.
Well, absolutely. Wyatt Langford. There we go. I couldn't believe I couldn't think of him. But yeah, Langford went the pick after Clark.
Because that was the big story.
Yeah, most people wanted Langford because of his production in college. Like, he had a great season, Langford did, over 1,200 ops, 26 homers, so on and so forth. He could play center field, just like Clark, but I think Clark's a better center fielder, but, whatever. And then some people even thought that Walker Jenkins, who the Twins took, was a better high school prospect than Clark. But anyway, that's all just, whatever. We're kind of getting off track, but there's a lot to talk about. Yeah, we do that a lot. But I'm just saying, because of the way the Tigers did their draft and the strategy that they used, they were able to get both guys. And now both guys are the top two minor league players in their organization.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on for the Tigers organization currently when you go top to bottom.
Yeah. Well, specifically in their prospects, their prospect pool. So this is, man, just my mind is just racing right now. Of course, the trade deadline's coming up, and Tigers have a ton of prospects that they can use to trade to try to get someone in that can help them win this year. Right. I'll say this, though. If I were the Tigers GM, which I'm not, and it's, probably a good thing I'm not, but nonetheless, if I was a Tigers GM, my top 4 prospects, not touchable. If anybody requests them, I'm hanging up on them. I'm not even considering it. Because McGonigal, Clark, Bryce Rayner, and Briseño, you're talking all up the middle in terms of defense. Correct. Shortstop, second base. Because McGonigal can move to second base when Rayner comes to a shortstop. Because I think Rayner is a better short. Not that McGonigal can't play short. I just think Rayner's better defensively at short. But shortstop, second base, outfield, and center for Clark, and a potential catcher in Briseño. I know he can play first base as well. I'm just saying that's just, to me, you don't touch that core. That core up the middle, you leave in place.
If they pan out, that's 10 years worth of ball.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, right. And you always talk about the up the middle defense.
Up the middle.
Right. And if you had those 4 guys up the middle for 7 to 10 years, that's your future. That's why you don't mortgage your future.
Now, other prospects that can be used for trade bait, Lorenzo, he's a highly touted prospect that we got from the Dodgers, right? I would be fine getting rid of Lorenzo, not because I don't like the guy, just that,
right.
I mean, if you're going to try to win now, I would definitely look at him. Hye-Yu Lee, he was one of the first people they brought in on a trade and he's having a pretty decent year overall. His average is 246 on base, basically 350. So he's not doing bad. And he's actually been switching back and forth between second and third because, again, the Tigers are short as far as third basemen go. And so trying to force him into a third base just to have somebody there.
Cool.
Jordan Ham, I've always liked. I thought Jordan Ham was a great pick when they picked him up. He's not having too great of a year necessarily, but I'm not worried about that. But a 4.26 ERA, etc. Like I'm okay with him. Chris Rodriguez, he's young and he's untouchable right now. Right, 17 years old, international signing. He's a big kid. I think it was like 6'5" or 6'6" or something like that. Big kid. Like we're not we're not touching him.
Right.
But yeah, there's still people like all up and down this organization for prospects that we can use for trade bait.
Yeah, absolutely.
Paul Wilson, like I've always liked Paul Wilson, but yet he's had some injury concerns. So I don't know what we're going to do with him. But I mean, Justice Bigby, he's still like when we got him from Atlanta, he was one of our top prospects. He's now down to 26. That just tells you, one, how much better our organization has gotten and how much he's kind of dropped off in terms of.
Is he a AAA or AA? Or is he even lower than that?
So he's actually in AAA now, but he was in AA. He's played 66 games in AA. So he's basically been AA. Yeah.
All right.
And he's done decent in AA, 280 average, etc. Right. Slugging. But his slugging's where it hurts, 398 slugging. That's just, really, really bad.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you want to make that transition.
Let's do it.
You mentioned slugging and slugging percentage. So for those that don't know what slugging percentage is, what's the definition? How's it calculated?
So slugging is every time a person comes to bat, it's how many bases they get at bat. So a single is, just 1 point, right? One base, so it's 1 point. A double is 2, triple 3, a home run is a 4. So like bat with a home run, that's 4 bases, right? So slugging is just basically how many bases you get at that at bat. And it only counts specific for just that one at bat. So if you get a bunch of singles, you're not going to have a high slugging. So slugging measures the extra base hits more or less.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
So
yeah.
You sent me an interesting TikTok.
I did.
I wanted to make sure it says Brooke Knows Ball.
Yes.
Is that handle, I guess, right?
On TikTok, yes.
On TikTok. And talk about her perspective of how slugging percentage should change.
So, look.
Or do you want to show the clip?
To get into that, I just want to say that Brooke Knows Ball, I'm a fan of hers. Okay? I'm not bringing this up because I watch her TikToks. I like the way her mind thinks. I'm a fan. I just want to get that out of the way right now, right? So her way of thinking about slugging percentage is an interesting take. She thinks that for example, if someone hits a sacrifice fly, that actually reduces your slugging percentage because you got out. It doesn't matter if there was a runner advanced, a runner scored, makes no difference. Your slugging percentage goes down and takes a hit. If there's a runner on second and third and you hit a ball and you get on base for a single and 2-run score, again, that makes your slugging percentage lower because it's only a single. Because that's the only thing slugging percentage looks at is just specifically how many bases did you get on that at bat. It doesn't look at any other factors, external factors. Mm-hmm. So the way that Brooke Knows Ball was talking about changing it is the person at bat gets credit for everybody else's on base advancement. So if you in that one scenario where the guy hits a single and 2-run score, they get 1 base from the guy on third going home and 2 bases from the guy on second going home because the guy in second took 2 bases on that 1 base hit. So it actually
plus the base for getting on yourself.
And plus the base for getting on yourself. Correct. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yes. And if there's a sacrifice fly where a guy's on third and the guy scores from third to home, you get 1 base for that, even though you got an out. And, and her way of looking at it is the batter shouldn't be penalized for advancing the runner, right? Like the batter has, they call those productive outs. We know that's a productive out, right? When a person gets out but advances the runner, it's a productive out. Correct. And the batter should get some sort of credit for making a productive out, getting the runner up, moving the runner forward, or if all you do is get a base hit in a situation where runners are, on base, then, you should have a kind of get like a credit for having 2-run score because you did your job. You did your job of getting the 2 runs in, right? And instead of being penalized, you get credit for that. Yep. So that's her take on it.
Yep. And when I saw the TikTok and I was looking at it, I'm like, It makes a lot of sense because your hit produced those
results.
That outcome. Yeah, produced those results. So why are you not getting credit for those results?
So I told you, I had my own opinion on this.
You did.
And here's what I wanted to talk about. I like the thought process of giving credit to the hitter for a productive out in some way of measuring it in terms of a number. Mm-hmm. We don't right now, right? Like now what we have is runners in scoring position, right? We know what their batting average is with runners in scoring position. RISP, that's important. But it doesn't count anybody on first base, what they do as far as like, being advanced or anything like that either. But we know things like RBIs and obviously slugging. But, and you read the comments to her video, there are a lot of comments that's really negative about her opinion on this. And I think the reason why is because what slugging measures. I'm not saying she doesn't understand this. I'm not saying that at all. She's smart, but I think she's trying to, okay, I think if she would have called this something else, right? This didn't even worry about slugging at all. Didn't even mention slugging. Just said, hey, I think I have a new way to give hitters credit, like a new way to measure their productiveness at an at-bat. I think it would have had a better reception. The problem is slugging is not really flawed, in my opinion. I don't think slugging is a bad metric like she was kind of talking it would be, because slugging measures an individual contribution, what they did at that at-bat, as far as whether a single, a double, triple, or home run. It measures a contribution. That's why it's one of the three main metrics. When you look at a box score or whatever, it always shows average, on base, and slugging. It's like one of the trinity of the like the holy trinity of offensive stats, right? And it's because it measures how effective the guy was at every at-bat as far as getting on base. Because unfortunately, the metric that she's talking about, it is a metric that determine that will be based on a team's success around that person, right? Like you could have the best hitter. I don't care if you call it Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth, Barry Bonds, whatever, right? And if he's in a team full of scrubs that never get on base, he'll never advance the runner. So in one way, it'd be penalizing because like he's never advancing runners because there's nobody on base when he gets up to bat.
Right.
Right. So slugging measures an individual's contribution per at bat. I think if she would have called this something different, like I don't know, something having to do with bases, like
right,
bases earned, bases gotten, bases gathered, whatever it might have been. Like I think in that scenario, it would have been better received because I think that has merit. But I would do the calculation separately as well. I wouldn't do it just how she's talking about it. I would want to know the success rate of them hitting with runners on base. Like not just in terms of an average, but like how many bases did you allow that person to get versus how many could they have gotten? A guy in first base could get 3 additional bases. Did they get 3 additional bases? Right? Well, did they hit a triple and knock the guy in? Because that matters, right? Like I guess that's what I'm saying. Like I would measure it differently than how she's talking about it.
Okay. So she did have a different name for it, or what she would call it.
She did. It was something like
it was impact slugging.
Impact slugging. But like the problem is how she presented it. Correct. She presented it as like slugging having it was flawed. And her impact slugging versus traditional slugging, I think, is measuring 2 different things.
I think the way how she talked about it is an excellent way for general managers to look at people they want to bring in, right? So whether they're coming in on free agency, trades, like you can look at we'll call it her impact slugging, right? And how much they're impacting the team in a positive way when it comes to their at-bats.
Right. I mean, like let's just take Max Clark for an example, right? This year he's got 25 RBIs. I'm sorry. I don't know where that came from. He's got 47 RBIs.
Yep.
Okay, and we know that his average is 285 and his slugging's 427, right? Mm-hmm. McGonigal, they're playing the same team, right? McGonigal has 39 RBIs, right? Like 39 versus Clark's 47. But McGonigal's slugging is 17 versus Clark of a 427, right? Like, so in a situation like that, Clark might have an overall better impact slugging than what McGonigal does because it measures what he can do with someone on base, whatever else. And
right.
Really, Yeah, but Clark's probably hitting above him in the order, all that kind of stuff. So now McGonigal doesn't have a chance that because the bases are clear more or less. But you know what I'm saying? Like the problem with hers is that it depends on the other teammates around you, not just what you're doing specifically, like on yourself on your own island.
Right. So like leadoff hitters, when they start a game, obviously there's no one on base. Inning one.
Right.
Now, as the game progresses, that changes, right? Because they may have the 8-9-1 hitter, right, coming up in an inning.
Correct. But let's think about this for a second. Most of your 8-9 hitters are some of the worst hitters on your team. So they're going to have your lowest average, lowest on base. So the chances of the number one hitter having someone on base when they go to bat. And this is like where the argument comes in, like Ohtani leading off. It's not a bad call from the lead off because, one, he runs the bases real well. Two, he's probably one of the best hitters in the game. So why wouldn't you want your better hitters to get more at-bats? Even if it's just one more at bat per game, that can make a game, the difference in the game, especially if the game is close.
Yep.
But Ohtani often, come up and there may not be anyone on base because of the hitters that are, in front of him as a 8-9, etc. Whereas if Ohtani gets on base, the hitters behind him, like Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, etc., have a better chance of hitting him in, right? So like that would kind of penalize the number one hitters that way too, because they're hitting after some of the weaker hitters.
I gotcha. So basically you're talking the impact slugging would really change for hitters 3, 4, 5, 6 ish.
I mean, it's not necessarily just that. Like, some of your worst hitters aren't going to be hitting home runs either, right? So, but if they do their job, like let's say they make a sacrifice, right? Like normally, like they do a sacrifice bunt, that would count as 0 bases for them. But if they advance 2 runners, if there's a runner on first and second, and they advance them both, that's 2 bases for them. So it could actually help your lower hitters as well, just by moving up the runners to get them in scoring position for a better hitter behind them, or just have a higher percentage of knocking them in on a base hit, and not necessarily a better hitter, but you know what I mean? Like it's just a better chance. So like it wouldn't penalize them for those types of at-bats. And, obviously everybody, like I said, slugging percentage is one of the holy trinity of batting statistics. So like people chasing a big fat contract don't want to do those type of outs. They don't want to necessarily, lay down a bunt because that's going to hurt their slugging. So this could be a way to kind of like bring that back in a way, But again, I like the thought. Like I said, I would measure it differently and I would call it something different. But I think it is a good way to look at it because we just compared Max Clark to McGonigal. 2 guys, vastly different slugging percentages. Max Clark has more RBIs.
Yeah. And I like the word that she used, being impact, because what she was talking about was the impact to the team, right?
Right.
And what they're doing. So it's a good word. It was just you're talking the last piece, got calling it slugging.
And she did do a good job of talking about, in a response that she made to a comment, it was something like, and of course can't quote it, but it was like, talking about how baseball is a team sport, but we measure everything on an individual perspective. And this is a way to kind of measure it more on a team base. And it's right. But that's also my argument against it because it's team based, right? So, like, anyway.
Teams that aren't scoring a lot, like, what's that? Who's the bad team this year? I know there's a bunch.
Yeah, there's a bunch. Still, Rockies are the worst, though.
Rockies, right? So, everybody's slugging percentage would be way down because they're not scoring any runs. I thought that run differential for them was huge.
I don't know what to say about the Rockies. It's bad. Like one of the worst.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
So,
but anyway,
it was
like I like that though. I like the thought.
Yeah, it's a very interesting perspective. Someone like me who's more of a novice when it comes to baseball and baseball stats, the way she laid it out, the way she described it and talked about it, and how she won me over right then. Mm-hmm. Like, it totally makes sense. It should be something they should be looking at. I think GMs, that's what you do. You want to get guys on base and you want to score runs. So the people who get on base should get credit for the runs that are scored and the bases when it comes to slugging. Like, all of that, to me, made absolute total sense.
There's nothing, absolutely. Everything you just said is true, right? Yep. Like, I mean, and we talk about a lot, Moneyball. Like they looked at it differently during that time, as far as like, and this is another way to kind of look at it, potentially.
And I almost said, I almost brought up Moneyball, by the way, and I was like, it was right there, and I'm like, I'm not gonna do it. I won't do it, but go ahead, finish.
You always do it.
I know I do, but it's.
And now I did it, but
now you did it.
Yeah, but no, that was pretty much it, right? Like I want to say kudos because I love the thought process, the originality, and we need that, and I love it, but I'd call it different, tweak it, so on and so forth, that kind of thing. Yeah.
No, like I said, it was. You sent it to me, and I watched it. I watched it a couple of times because I wanted to make sure I caught all of it, because I catch myself trying to read when the words come up, and I'm trying, instead of just listening to what she has to say. So I try to hear what she has to say, and then I read it a second time, like to make sure I didn't miss any of the words. I'm getting old now, so that's kind of what happens.
So the draft, I want to touch on the draft real quick, right? So MLB.com, they did their latest mock draft, and they have this guy named Cunningham, Kason Cunningham, going to the Tigers. Look, when you look at Kason Cunningham, he is the type of talent that Tigers would draft. Okay, he's got good bat to ball skills. It's like when it's rated on an 80, his hit tool is a 60, and his run is a 60. His power, the weakest part of his game, is a 45, right? Like, and again, that's what the Tigers go for. They don't care necessarily about. They want just to make sure they make contact and hit the ball hard, wherever it is, and play good defense, and he can. What's interesting is he's another shortstop / second baseman. He's another lefty in the lineup, because our top 4 prospects are all lefties, by the way. Okay. And so he's another lefty.
All right.
And but like his speed, his defense, and his bat to ball skills are all really good. And I think his power. This is just my personal opinion on this. I don't think that his bat speed is good, and he has the ability to barrel balls, and I think that his power will be better than what they may think, just with the ability to put a barrel on the ball and combine with his bat speed. I think he'll have more power than what people think that he currently would. And not that it's the most important thing to this organization, but I did want to put that out there. And he's currently ranked the 14th prospect in the draft right now. He's a high schooler.
So another guy that's going to take 4 years roughly to make his way up.
Yep. Now, that's who they have the Tigers looking at. Yeah. Who I have the Tigers looking at, and I don't know if he's going to make it, because in the mock draft, he's projected to go much higher than where the Tigers pick, which Tigers are picking. The first draft pick is 24, by the way. Yeah, and they do have a 34 as well.
Yeah, and actually, they have 3 in the top 62. I know that's through the second round. I know we talked about the second round.
Yeah. But another thing is, like, there's a pitcher called Tyler Brimner. He's out of UC Santa Barbara. He's a right-handed pitcher. He's 6'2", and so he's a college guy, so he's a bit older. I think this guy is exactly what the Tigers are looking for in a pitching prospect. Personally, he has a good fastball, 96, 97. He can kick up to 98. He has a little bit of a control issue, but we've seen that with other Tiger pitchers in the past, whether it's been Casey Mize, Reese Olson, even Skubal had a little bit of a control issue coming up when they first got in there, and I think that this guy is being slept on by a lot of. At least I don't hear a lot about this guy. I guess that's how I should put it. Like, you hear a lot about the pitchers at the top of the draft, right? Like college pitchers, so like Cade Anderson, for an example. Jamie Arnold. You hear a lot about them. Liam Doyle, and even some of the high school prospects like Seth Hernandez, which is a amazing talent, by the way. But I really do believe that he is being slept on because, like, his fastball matches up with other fastballs. He has a great changeup, which we just kind of talked about with Skubal, as far as Skubal having a great change.
Yep.
But the biggest thing is, I think he's just a little bit wild, and he did do some. He got moved to the bullpen. I think that's also kind of what hurt him. He got moved to the bullpen, and he kind of came out from the bullpen when other injuries happened, and did some spot starts, and went back to the bullpen, and then again more injuries, came back out again. But I think this guy could be a starter in the majors, and I think that he has the good stuff to do it, and I think the Tigers have the ability to help him fix some of his control issues and make some of his pitches better. So I like Bremner as a prospect.
Well, we've talked about in the past about the Tigers' ability to make pitchers better.
Yes.
Right. And just how, like, they're whether it's through the farm system, the pitching coaches, at the MLB level, it doesn't matter. Like, they've just been able to really work with the pitchers that they're getting and getting the most out of them. I mean, last year you look at Jack Flaherty, everyone we got him, right? Was it the year before or over the season? I know we traded him but he was not having a very good year. He came to the Tigers, had a pretty good
resurgence.
Yeah, right. And then we traded him mid-year, and he still continued that with the Dodgers all the way through the World Series.
Yes,
and we brought him back. Now, again, not having the same kind of resurgent year that this year, but like I said, as we said in the past, the Tigers pitching coaches do a fantastic job of getting the most out of the guys that they have.
Yes, they do. And there's two more guys I want to touch on just real quick, right? A guy that does not fit the Tigers. What's we're looking for? Like what they look for at all. But I think would be an interesting prospect is Jaroslav Volyet. He's out of Texas A&M. This dude has more power than pretty much anybody else in the draft. He's a 6'6" guy outfielder. He actually runs better than what you would think.
Good Lord.
But he's got a power rating of 65 out of 80, and so he can mash, right? He can absolutely mash. But I think this guy could be kind of a wild card for the Tigers. And I say that because, again, I know he doesn't fit the profile of what we look for, like someone that makes good contact. He does strike out a lot, which is, again, goes against what the Tigers generally look for. But I think because of his overall athleticism, they might take a chance on this guy, just because of the potential high ceiling that he can have if he learns to, again, put the bat in the ball, right? More often, with more consistency. I like him as a wild card, and someone that, again, I don't think is getting enough talk about is Riley Quick. The guy's out of Alabama. What makes him an intriguing prospect to me is, again, he's 6'6", 255. He's 21 years old. He actually had he was a 4-star offensive lineman, right? And he drew interest from, like top schools in college there. But he did blow out his elbow already in 2020. Excuse me, in 24. And but he came back in 25. So he doesn't really have. He only had 3 innings pitched in 24 because of that. It was his first start when he blew out his elbow. But this season, 25, he was 8-3 with a 3.92 ERA. Again, pitched in Alabama in the SEC. He let up 5 home runs, 24 walks, 70 strikeouts. Right, so, but 70 strikeouts and 62 innings pitched. What I like about him specifically is it's not his size and his ability to throw hard, because he can throw hard, 96 miles an hour.
Yep.
But it's his sinker. His sinker, I think, is probably one of the best in the draft. And we've seen a lot of pitchers in Major League Baseball having a lot of success with the sinker, especially when they can throw the sinker fast. And he can top his sinker out at 99 miles an hour.
You said 99?
So 99.
99. Okay.
99 as a sinker, right?
As a sinker, that's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Now, that's his top end. That's not what he's going to be throwing consistently, but his top end at 99. So, and this guy is rated the 38th best prospect right now. And so I can see the Tigers potentially, choosing him at 24 if they don't think he's going to be around for 34.
Yeah.
Because, again, his control is the biggest problem. 100% his biggest problem is control. If he had better control, he could be in the top 10, I think. I think he's that good with his stuff.
He's got that kind of talent to be a top 10.
I think so. So, because he's got a good fastball, he can throw a fastball hard. His slider's good, right? So you can pick a fastball, slider, and then with that heavy sinker, I mean, that's deadly. And then develop some sort of changeup on top of that to help change up speeds. You know, dude, this guy.
I'm sure if he's throwing that, if he can throw a sinker that hard, I can only imagine how hard his slider is coming.
Right. Yeah. It's you know, in the 90s, low 90s.
Yeah. Like yeah,
the guy. I really. Anyways, I like this guy. Is what I'm saying. Yeah. Like he's my sleeper, my dark horse. I would love to see the Tigers take a chance on him at 24. That's all I'm saying. Let's see what he got, because I think he can be a top end starter. He's got the talent.
Yeah, the draft's going to be interesting. Whether we do a show while we're watching the first round, we're at least going to sit and watch the first round.
We will, yeah, and we'll probably do something reviewing it, anyways.
Correct. Yeah, but yeah, feels kind of good to be back online.
It's been way too long.
It's been way too long, brother. Way too long.
But at any rate, look, man, there's a lot going on in baseball, and the problem is, even if we only do one show, even with one show per week, we can't cover all of it because there's so much in baseball.
And it's only baseball right now. Like that's the only thing happening currently.
Yeah.
Right. NBA's done. NHL is done. NFL, UFL, like it's all baseball right now. This is the heat of the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball. So,
and I love it, but
yeah, until August when football starts.
Yeah. But anyway, so let me know what you think about the take as far as the players are highlighted. Let me know what you think, and let me know what you think too about the impact slugging, like that whole situation. Like yeah. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that, like what you think about that, and do you think there's a room for more stats, like she was suggesting?
And my suggestion is to actually go to her TikTok and actually watch and hear how she says it and how she explains it to you.
Yeah.
Because she does a phenomenal job. And that way, if you're going to make a comment about it, at least you've heard everything that she said. It wasn't just us relaying what she said.
And also, look at other videos. She has other videos out there talking about other stats that she's created that will measure different things. It's not just this. She has a bunch of different things out there. She has a new way to measure WAR. Look, I find it all interesting. You know, she has a good mind, you know, coming up with stuff like this. And I do enjoy her TikToks. But so, yeah, like my brother said, go visit it.
Yeah, and he's a little bit enamored with it because he's a stats guy.
I am.
And this young lady that's what she does. She's a number cruncher, and just based on what you're, so you kind of have that connection because you like the way her brain processes information.
I do, yes. But anyways, with that being said, appreciate you listening, and we'll try to post more often. So like and follow, and we'll post more often.
And we're gonna try and get back.
I put my green screen too because I had this plan for this cool like Detroit Old Tiger Stadium background behind me.
Ooh.
But I had some errors. It ran for like 3 seconds before I was able to. Anyways, it just didn't work. So
yeah,
I was trying it though.
I also have a green screen. I've decided to just say this is what my green screen would have looked like anyway.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's on a green wall. So
there we go.
All right.
But cool. All right. Appreciate everybody, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye next week.
Take care, everybody.